Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sports Tavern. Here we are again this week in the your corner of the internet where you can be both nerdy and sporty. That's what we're aiming for here. And once again, Andy, Geek Curio, is with me. Hello, Andy.
Hello, Hamish. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. The voice is struggling just a tiny bit from my long Baldur's Gate stream earlier, but other than that, we're doing all right.
Yeah, I heard you were doing a long one today.
Sounding a little husky, but it's all good. What about you?
Doing okay. Just very, very hot. You have heard me complain about the heat in my room.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's a small room and it has a very big computer in it.
Pete the Priest.
I feel a bit like Alan Turing at the moment. So.
Fair enough. Yeah, Pete the Priest has redeemed Hydrate, so we better go for that already. I know, he's straight
Where would we
in there.
be without Pete the Priest? In fact, that's the only reason I come on Fridays is just so I can drink water.
Yeah, exactly. In that heat, it's good to stay hydrated. Cookie stole the phone from Pete the Priest. There we go. Good early hydrate. That's what we like to see.
Yeah.
So, we've done a couple of these now, but we're finally a matter of hours away from the start of Euro 2020.
4 hours to go.
I know, and I was going to ask you if you're excited, but that's a bit of a silly question when you're like
yeah,
that.
I am excited. I really love opening ceremonies. So, and it's interesting because this year it's all over Europe, and I don't even know where the first game's being held. I know who's playing, but I don't actually know where it is.
It's in Rome, I believe, because traditionally in these things you have the host nation plays first.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure Italy. I think I'm right in saying Italy have been chosen as the first game because the first game is in Rome. So therefore, that still kind of works as the first game. So yeah, Italy against Turkey at 8 p.m. UK time tonight.
Yeah. But the opening ceremony, would it be all over Europe, or is it going to be like Live Aid?
Like Live Aid, where they're just throwing from one to another.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's they're using the technology to help them out. I don't actually know. I'm going to be honest with you. Opening ceremonies are not really my thing, so I haven't looked into it at all. I don't know. So but that's worth having a look out for.
Little bit of a trivia, because no one's actually redeemed trivia today, but in Euro '96, some girls that I went to school with were actually in the opening ceremony at Wembley.
Oh, wow.
Because I grew up literally just a stone's throw from Wembley Stadium.
Were you a hoodlum and throwing stones, though? That's the question. Or was it a metaphorical stone?
Metaphorical. Yeah.
Good to hear it. Yes, I remember. So Euro 96 was in England. So that was the last major football tournament in England.
That was the Badil and Skinner releasing their single. So
football's coming home, allegedly.
And we got our single coming out on Friday, available on iTunes, Google Play, and whatever else.
And basically, just so you know where to avoid the prospect of that. I see your guitar in the background. We could put together a little something, couldn't we?
Yeah.
All good.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
I meant to listen to the official England song before the stream today, but I'll be honest, I didn't get around to it.
I didn't know they had one.
Yeah, I was more excited by all the sport rather than the songs, to be honest with you. But it's a bit of a tough time at the moment. So the games kick off tonight. England and Scotland's first games over the weekend. I've been listening to the cricket all day because I'm a big cricket fan as well. So England are playing New Zealand in the cricket at the moment. It's also in esports. It's the start of the next split of the League of Legends International Pro game. So I've got sports everywhere at the moment. It's a great time to be a sports fan as far as I'm concerned.
Is our very own Bellalurian going to be in the League of Legends Pro tournament at all?
I think they offered him a place, but he just
he didn't want to take it from everyone else.
Exactly.
Level playing field.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just us new noobs. No. I enjoy a bit of the League of Legends Pro Play. They're kind of bite-sized games, so you can watch like half an hour's game, like while you're doing something, or when it tends to be like I'm getting ready for bed. I'll put on a game of League of Legends. I can fit that in. Oh, there you go. Bellalurian's too busy moderating this channel to take up the offer of Pro Play. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm glad he chose the most prestigious of options for him.
Yeah. Well, he has to spread his glory around somewhere.
Good times, good times. Right, well, so yeah, obviously all of that sport is going on, but we are focusing again on Euro 2020 today. I suspect probably until the Euros are finished, we'll probably be focusing on them on the Sports Tavern. I know we have said we'll eventually talk Olympics and things like that, but let's think Euro 2020 again today. So, shall we start off thinking about the first game? So, as we said, it is Italy against Turkey. I think we've someone who said in chat, first game is a flop. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. What do you make of it? Italy against Turkey is the first game.
I don't know. The funny thing with Italy is I don't actually know. This is the first year that I don't actually know the players. I mean, you've always had the big names always seem to come from Brazil, Italy, and these major tournaments. So you always had Roberto Baggio, Del Piero. And I'll be honest, I can't think of a single Italian player at the moment in that squad. So Turkey, with the way their league has been on the up and getting more and more quite good players in their league, it'll be an interesting match.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one as well, with Italy having failed to qualify for the last World Cup. I think it was the first time since about 58 or something like that they hadn't qualified for a World Cup. Mancini is in as their manager now. I will never forgive Roberto Mancini for giving Man City their first Premier League title, but I think he's a good manager, isn't he? Yeah, I mean, I think Italy, they do have some big names. Probably not terribly surprisingly, most of the ones that I would gravitate towards are in defence. As you might, that's the kind of stereotype of Italian football, isn't it? But they've got Leonardo Bonucci, Giorgio Chiellini. Who else are we looking at the back? Fiorenzi, Di Lorenzo. There's a lot of defenders I can think of. I guess you're probably blocking it out, but Jorginho at Chelsea is in the Italian squad. Verratti from Paris Saint-Germain.
I know. West Ham centre-back Angelo Ogbonna was quite upset about not getting a call-up.
Yeah.
Especially after the way he's been performing. I know he's 31, 32, but I think he was hoping that his performances would actually get him into the squad. But he's a solid centre-back as well. But like I say, if it just seems to be too many defenders, then it's a tough one to get into. I
mean, it is always, as I say, the stereotype of Italian football is very solid defence. And, then they kind of get around to attacking if they feel like it in the end. Mm-hmm. So yes, that is kind of the straw. I'm just going to get the schedule up. There we go. Hopefully you can see that on the stream. So yeah, Turkey against Italy tonight. Oh, it's interesting that Turkey is listed first against Italy. So this is from the official European Championships page. I took these fixtures.
So it does actually say it's at Rome. Could this be because it's not in any country? It's in Europe as a whole.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Which is interesting. Although I didn't really realise until I was kind of looking at some of the fixtures today that England, if England win the group and get to the final, they'll only have to play one game, not at Wembley, which is interesting.
Yeah, it did seem a bit skewed. It's very England heavy, isn't it?
The final. I think both semis and the final are at Wembley. Mm-hmm. It's blatant favouritism because Scotland get to play two of their group games at Hampden Park, but the third one is against England, so therefore is at Wembley. So there we are. But yeah, I think just to go back to Turkey, Italy, we were talking a little bit just as we were getting ready for the stream. We were talking about Gianluigi Buffon, who is not in the Italian squad this time round. But this is the first time, I think, so I looked this up. This is how I know all of these details. This is not just off the top of my head. Buffon made his international debut for Italy in 1997. So a year before Scotland last played in a tournament. So Scotland haven't played in a major tournament for 23 years. And in that tournament, Buffon also played. He's still going. He's older than either of us.
Yeah. I was 18 when he made his debut.
Yeah. I was
12. Still hope for me, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be at the next Euros.
Easily.
Yeah, yeah. But no, it's the first one without him. But Gianluigi Donnarumma, I think he's still like 18, 19. Donnarumma at AC Milan. He's their new goalkeeping hope. And he's been linked with Man United because he's a football player, so therefore he's been linked with Man United. Yeah, that's about all it takes these days.
It's wonderful to see all these young goalkeepers, because traditionally it always seemed to be that goalkeepers in their 30s were the prime of when a goalkeeper would be playing at their best. I mean, when you think of David Seaman, played most of his best stuff in his early to late 30s. Peter Shilton was 40 when he was at Euro 90.
Yeah.
Like World Cup.
I mean, still younger than Buffon, but, you know. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's one of the things, again, to go to the Man United connection. But Peter Schmeichel actually left Man United by a goalkeeping standards. He left relatively early. And then, you know, he carried on playing with Sporting in Portugal. He went to Man City. He played for Aston Villa. Yeah, so it is definitely a thing. And it is interesting. As you say, I hadn't really thought of it in those terms, but a lot of the England, I think all of... no, that's not true, because Johnston, I think, is in his 30s. But Pickford and Henderson are both in their 20s.
Yeah, Henderson's early 20s as well. He's 23,
I think he's 23, yeah. I think so. So that is interesting. That is a bit of a departure. It definitely seems to be like, just as you were getting to the age to retire as an outfield player, you were getting to the age of your prime if you were a goalkeeper. It was a bit of a strange one. So yeah, that is interesting to see. Interesting to see. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to. I've just realised that the times on the fixtures which I've got there are the Central European summertime rather than British summertime. So it's an hour earlier than that if you're watching in Britain.
Yes.
So yeah, we've got Turkey versus Italy starting at 8:00 tonight, which will be it's we've had that extra year of build up to wait for it. So it's it's going to be good. The one thing that does baffle me slightly is, with everything that's going on with COVID, I'm not necessarily sure actually having it held in 4 different countries, 5 countries, 4 different is necessarily the most sensible of plans.
It's not. I mean, basically, I know we're on the tail end of what? Are we on the tail end of COVID? Well, could this be
wave 3? Here we go.
Disaster? I don't know. Like I say, I'm not in charge of UEFA.
Are you not?
However,
what have got you on?
I've only just made this up now, so. But yeah, if I would have probably limited it to one country. So, and if you're going to limit it to one country, it probably would have been the British Isles, because the majority of the matches are played there anyway.
But is that one country? Let's not go down that route.
I was going to say England, but then I thought I'd include Hampden Park.
Yeah, absolutely. But Wales don't get any games, do they?
I think in
Wembley
Euros,
and Hampden got games.
Wales did hold games in Euro 96, even though it was officially England.
Did they?
And I think it's a weird thing with the league, isn't it? Because the league is England and Wales, whereas
such a weird. Yeah, and England. Well, Wales has its own league, but like Cardiff and Swansea, Wrexham play in the English league. It's slightly weird one with. I mean, I guess Berwick is the obvious. So Berwick play in the Scottish league. Let's not get into whether Berwick is England or Scotland, because we could be spending all the time there. But it is a slightly complicated one, where each country has their own leagues, but don't necessarily stick to playing in the right ones. It does add an element of confusion to the whole thing. But yeah, that's all. And so Wales kick off their campaign tomorrow
in Baku.
Yes.
Is that Romania?
No, Baku is one of the stands. Why is my brain failing me?
Uzbekistan.
Kazakhstan? No. Somebody help us. Azerbaijan. Yes. Azerbaijan, which is not one of the stands, but
did I say the first one was a Harry Potter place?
What, the Azkaban?
Azkaban, that's it, yeah.
Wales versus Switzerland to play their first game in Azkaban. I'll be honest, probably I'd be more worried about the Dementors than the Swiss team, but
I don't know.
What do you think? I guess let's have a quick chat about Wales. I guess neither of us have the strength of connection with Wales that we do the others, but they last Euros they did very well. They got to the semis.
Yes, they did extremely well. I think it was having, like I say, Gareth Bale probably was in his absolute prime. I mean, he still is like the third most well-paid player in the world or something at the moment, third or fourth,
Something
which is
outrageous.
insane.
I
But
mean, to be
also,
fair, actually, towards the end of the season, he did start to have a few good games for Tottenham, but he's definitely not at the level that he was 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
yeah. But then again, they've also got some really good players in there as well, such as is it Aaron Ramsey?
Aaron Ramsey at Juve, yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Other
just
than
think,
that,
yeah, I just think they probably, and I guess this is probably the kind of the criticism potentially to our aim at Scotland as well is I think they've got lots of good players. I think Wales definitely they deserve to be there, absolutely, no question about that. But I don't think they have that star quality that they did
no,
4 or 5 years ago.
like I say, Gareth. It's the same with Portugal. It's kind of like apologies if Katarina and Lenora are in the room, but when I watched Portugal at the World Cup, there was a West Ham player, Hal Mario, and I was really excited to see him play. But it literally was Cristiano Ronaldo carried Portugal through that entire thing. And I do feel like Gareth Bale carried Wales a lot through the last tournament. Also, they had Chris Coleman, who was doing absolutely amazing things in that tournament as well. And I don't feel Bale is up to the job. I still think they've got a lot of good players.
Yeah.
I think they'll do extremely well in the group matches.
Yeah.
Looking at their group, I think the toughest competition they got in there is Belgium.
No, so they're in
Group A.
Switzerland, Turkey, and Italy.
Oh right, yeah, so it's different. Yeah, I was looking at the days rather than the group. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's easy to do. I think the thing and the interesting comparison with Cristiano Ronaldo is even if it's not about performance, it can be about like the talisman. I'm trying to think if it was the World Cup or the last Euros. I think it was the last Euros where Cristiano Ronaldo went off and he was on the sideline like shouting and screaming, and he was like the manager almost. He was telling them what to do. And so it is that talismanic thing. I think Portugal have some really, really good play. I mean, obviously Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
Is there, it's not just Cristiano Ronaldo now, but whether they can emerge from that kind of... And honestly, I think Cristiano Ronaldo has this thing, like wherever he's gone, he is the main man. And that's not always helpful, especially as Ronaldo gets on a little bit. He's still a great player. I'm not trying to say he's, past it and he's rubbish. But when you set up an entire team around one person, it can cause difficulties in other areas. And that's my concern really with Portugal. It's not about the players they have, because they have some great players.
I think they got much better squad than they did 3 years ago. Much more balanced squad, I should say, because like I say, Portugal, if I remember correctly, did very, very well in the decent in the World Cup. But before Ronaldo, it was Luis Figo. Who was a talisman.
One of those players who went between Real and Barcelona in Spain, which is it takes a brave man to do that.
Very brave.
Yeah.
But like I say, now you've got a squad that's a lot more balanced. Fernandes, like I say, I've seen him play and he's absolutely terrific.
Yeah.
Plus you got the rest of Wolverhampton.
I was going to say we need a Wolves fan on, don't we? Because they can talk through the whole Portugal squad.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. They're a good team as well. They are definitely a good team. All right, let's talk about England and Scotland's first games, and then I think what we'll do a little bit later on is we'll suggest some of the teams that we think might do well and see how they get on. And we can kind of go from there. So England versus Croatia, Sunday, 2 p.m. our time, 3 p.m. Central European time. What do you reckon? What's your feeling about this game?
So I remember it was a semi-final semi-final 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Where England lost to Croatia, and I remember watching that match, and England at the time were already through originally, and Croatia were up against Russia, and I really thought Russia were going to win because Croatia just looked knackered by that point of the competition. And I remember that game between England and Croatia, and still they looked absolutely exhausted. And if I remember correctly, it went into extra time, I think, because there was a very late equaliser.
Yeah.
And I think England were very unlucky to lose that match.
I think it was one of those games where England kind of dominated the game in a lot of ways, but didn't have loads and loads of chances to kind of put it away. They got ahead.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that the England team is too often guilty of, is absolutely dominating the ball but not really doing enough with it. Yeah. And then Croatia came back into it really late on, and then it went all the way to penalties, did it?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm trying to remember. I was actually away for work when this was going on, and I was in meetings, and I had my phone out, just scrolling, desperately refreshing every time the penalties were being taken. So I didn't get to watch that game live because I was working. But yeah, it was a tense game. But
like I say, we're looking at now. It's the first game of the tournament for them. They're not going to be knackered.
Yeah, you'd hope not. Anyway.
Other than Luka Modric, who is getting on a little bit, I don't know. I really don't know. It's going to be a test. I think England will edge it, but I don't know if England's got the... Well, like I say, you've got Harry Kane, you've got some fantastic strikers like we discussed in last week's show.
Yeah.
It's just whether we're going to make the chances and finish those chances. Have we seen it much in the warm-ups?
Yeah, the warm-up games were very strange because it was very... I mean, honestly, I feel like they kind of fit the same pattern that I'm talking about. England were changing around a lot. We don't really know what the team's going to be. There was no... And a lot of that, I think... I was critical of Southgate of that to begin with. I'm generally a big fan of Gareth Southgate, but then I think if you look at the fact that for none of those warm-up games did he have any of the Chelsea or Man City players available to him, because it had been agreed that after the Champions League final they would all have a rest. So none of those players were available. So he kind of had to bring in a lot of different players, chop and change. I think probably up top for England, there isn't really such a thing as a best lineup. Oh, Bellerin Medine Hydrate, thank you. Yes, I don't think there is a best team for England so much as there are good players for good situations. So it's hard to get the team playing well there. But with all that said, I think it was the same problem that they always have, which is they dominated the ball and they didn't really do that much with it. And against Austria, they were kind of hanging on. I didn't see much in those games that really made me confident in England.
Might be a case that he doesn't want to tip his hand. Like I say, he was playing players that we already knew hadn't made selection. So
yeah.
I think he didn't want to tip his hand, and he's probably playing it very close to his chest because we had no expectation 3 years ago, and now I think that expectation has come back.
Yeah, I mean, it is the kind of thing that has never fully gone away with England fans, because you win one game and the England fans think you're going to win the World Cup. But I absolutely get what you mean. And I think that one of the things that I found a little bit odd is all the pundits seem to think that Southgate is going to go back to a back five for the games coming up, and he played a back four in the warm-up games, which to me, I feel like he... And again, maybe it is exactly what you say. Maybe it's about he doesn't want to give away secrets. But it seems like an odd one not to get some of those players into that system. The last rumour I heard was that to make up for the fact that he's brought in so many fullbacks, he's going to play 4 fullbacks in the game. So the rumoured lineup that I saw was John Stones in the centre of a back three, with Luke Shaw and Kyle Walker either side of him in the back three, and then with probably Reece James on the right and Ben Chilwell on the left, which that's very attacking as far as I'm concerned, but it kind of could work.
I still think you'd need, and I say this is going to sound like bias again, but Rice on Modric.
Yeah, I think actually
defensive midfield.
Yeah. Central midfield is one area that Croatia do have a lot of strength, because Kovacic from Chelsea is an option for them. Perisic is still around. Where's he at now? Inter, I think. So yeah, Perisic is there. Brozovic of Inter as well. They have a lot of. And it's Ante Rebic, who I think for a while played for Frankfurt, who are my preferred German team, which is how I know that. Oh, Pete the Priest redeemed a hydrate now. You can probably hear my voice going. That's the issue. Well, no, I mean Pete the Priest just likes to hydrate people. But yeah, I feel like they do have a lot of strength, particularly in the midfield. Croatia. They have Dejan Lovren still at the back for them. I've never been able to say his name, but I think it's like Veselko, the right back, who was an absolute legend on Football Manager a few years ago. He was like the go-to right back for Football Manager a few years ago. So they do definitely have some good players. I think if you stack up players against players, England win, but I think it's not that clear cut necessarily.
I'd say flat back four. Use the wingers. Have Rice just sit in front of the back four to nullify Modric. Get the balls in, cross the balls in. Have someone to nod them in, and we should be able to win it. Croatia's strength seems to be down the middle.
Yeah,
very direct. So, and I think that's the way to handle them.
Yeah. I think it will be an interesting one. I mean, I think that Gareth Southgate has a very clear view. He's a very good tactician, I think. So I think he will figure out a good way, at least in theory, to negate some of those strengths. And I think you're right. I think if we can negate the midfield using like Declan Rice, for example, I think my concern would be if he goes with a back five and then Declan Rice in front of that, we're starting to load up at the back. And I think, do we need that? Can we pack a bit more in the midfield? There's some questions there. Yeah. But I think you're right. I think for me, Declan Rice has to start, and he not necessarily do a man marking duty on Modric, because I think Modric might sit a little bit deeper these days. Now he's a bit older, and Kovacic might be the one to break forward. But yeah, make sure that we're closing down those players as quickly as we can.
Well, like I say, looking at the attacking options that England have, you want to have those good creative players out there. Yeah. Creating options. You want your Grealish, you want your Sancho. Yeah.
Jadon Sancho reportedly was the subject of a bid from Man United in the last few days.
75 million, isn't it?
I think the story I heard was that United had offered 67 million, and that Dortmund wanted something like 75 million. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. It's easy for me to say. I don't quite get that, especially having missed out on him last year. Just hand over an extra 8 million. Come on, chill out. I'm not the one in charge of the finances, as you can tell. No. But yeah, it'll be an interesting one. But there we are. And then, so on Monday the 14th, Scotland versus the Czech Republic. Now, as we established last week, as the West Ham fan, you are our resident Czech Republic ambassador, our correspondent to the Czech Republic.
Yes, I am a West Ham fan, therefore I know a lot about Czechoslovakian players. I also stood at a train station in Poland, which was going to Prague, which also makes me an expert.
Well then, I concede the floor to you.
Yeah. So, what do you want to know?
Well, I want you to tell me how Scotland can beat the Czech Republic is the main thing. Now, what do you make of it? I think the Czech Republic squad, they were very strong. I was going to say 10 years ago. It's much more than that now, isn't it? More like 20 years ago. They did well in the kind of Euro 96 kind of era. I can't remember, honestly, when the Czechoslovakia became the Czech Republic and Slovakia, but I think it was end of the 80s.
Czechia now, I think.
Yeah. So that's Czechia is the Czech Republic as opposed to the Slovakia.
Was it that they split from Slovakia?
Yeah, so Czech Republic and Slovakia were one country, Czechoslovakia, and they've separated. And I think that was at the end of the 80s. So I think like in the mid-90s, I think I'm right in saying people like Karol Poborski, who played for, I think Karol Poborski, when he went to Man United, had just done well at Euro 96 or something. So around there, they were very strong. But honestly, I don't know all that much about their squad, apart from the fact that they have a couple of West Ham players in there. So what do you make of them as a squad?
Okay, so Czech Republic, I mean, their team's going to be very heavy on players who are playing in other countries like England and Russia. A lot of their players go to Russia. Like Spartak Moscow. I'm doing it again. I'm saying Moscow like American. Moscow. They've also got their top team, Sparta Prague, which is basically the West Ham United feeder club.
Yeah.
Have got some amazing players in there as well. So it's all going to be depending on how many of those players have made it into the national squad, and it seems like quite a bit. Now, one of the ones that I said, I think I mentioned it last week, I have completely forgotten his name despite the fact we were talking about him earlier, is they've got basically the Chechen Michael Owen, and I know you're quickly looking up his name.
Yeah, Adam Lozek.
Yeah. Lozek. And this guy, I think he's like 17, 18, 19, very young. He has scored 2 hat-tricks. One of the matches, I think he scored 4 goals in. He played against Leicester in the Champions League. You got to remember, Sparta Prague knocked out Leicester in the Champions League. So when you think the third or 4th place club in the Premier League, they outplayed. And any Premier League supporters who have had to go up against Leicester know that's a tough team. It's going to be a tough one. However, like I say, in the past year, I think it is, the Czech Republic have lost 5-0 to England with a lot of those squad members. They haven't exactly set the world on light at the international level, but it's going to be interesting. And compared to Scotland, which to me is a team a national team massively on the up at the moment.
That's what we like to hear.
Yeah, I always thought the Czech Republic are going to be the underestimated ones, but I think we're looking at 2 teams that may be underestimated, and it's probably going to turn out to be a draw, but it's going to be a hard-fought draw.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen quite a lot of Thomas Souček at West Ham this year, and I've been really impressed with him. I think when I first saw him, he kind of has the demeanour of a really defensive midfielder. But I feel like the more I've seen him over the season, he feels much more like a box-to-box midfielder to me. Like some of the old school, not necessarily with all of the creativity of a out-and-out attacking midfielder, but he's got the tank to go backwards and, to get box-to-box. He can make kind of runs into the box. He's a physical presence. I've been really impressed with him.
As well. I mean, let's say, who's it went into him? And he just got up and decided to get ready for the corner, and the referee stopped the match and said, "Sorry, mate, you got blood all over your face. Get off."
Yeah. I mean, he's impressed me. I haven't. I guess partly because I don't get to see that many live Premier League games because I don't have the channels because they cost money and everything.
Expensive.
But yeah, exactly. But I've seen lots of the highlights of that match today, and I guess is it Kufal?
Yeah.
I haven't seen as much of him because he doesn't tend to make the highlight reels as much. But what do you make of him?
A very tough defender. I'm gonna pick one of my favourite Man United right backs now to compare him to, but a slower version of Wan-Bissaka.
Wan-Bissaka. There you go.
Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah. Right, okay.
So he's got good pace. He will get to the byline and he'll whip loads of crosses in. Okay. And he's got quite a lot of assists this season just from that. He nearly scored a goal at one point, and he absolutely froze because he was literally one-on-one with the goalkeeper at one point. You could see the panic in his eyes, the poor guy. But he's... So
you're sure he's not more like a Gary Neville, who played like 650 times for Man United? I think he scored once, maybe. Gary Neville was not a goal-scoring right back.
Yeah, he definitely isn't. But when he's providing service, like I say, if they've got... was it Lorick? Adam. We're just going to call him Adam because I remember.
Yeah, okay.
If Adam's going to be I don't know whether he's a tall player but if he's going to get service like that from Kufal, it's a danger.
You've got a visitor in the background of the shop, which is.
I do because it is dinner time, and on Fridays my daughter's supposed to keep feeding. So instead we're going to have, because I know they're wanting something. So come on, going to be on stream.
While they're there, do you want to ask them who they think is going to win Euro 2021?
Miles, who do you think is going to win 2021?
The bag of treats.
He says Germany. He's a touchdown. So.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we'll ask Gwen, who's a little bit dopey. Gwen.
She'll probably say Scotland if she's a bit dopey.
She's very dopey. Gwen, who do you think is going to win the Euro? She says China because she's Chinese. I did warn you she's dope. That's treat. Do you not want doggy treat? There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. Well, it's good to have extra guests in the Sports Tavern.
She is really. She's not smart at all,
but very sweet. But very.
She's
sweet. Yeah. I mean, I think the other player that I'm kind of thinking that fans of the Premier League will know, Mate Vidra also is in the Czech Republic squad and is at Burnley at the moment. I think he had quite a good end to the season, but he's not really the kind of player that world-class defenders are going to be quaking in fear about.
Yeah, he's the one who breaks people's legs, isn't he? Well, the entire Burnley team do, I think. I remember whenever we play against Burnley, it's basically just look at the injury list at the end of the match.
I mean, I have a lot of time for Sean Dyche. He's the Burnley manager because he was the Watford manager for a while.
He's brilliant. Did you
Watford
ever see
my second team? So
did you ever see that Looky Likey interview that he did?
No.
He started doing this. Basically, they said something about him looking like someone, and then he just went completely off script on a press conference and started saying who looked like this. And he says when he's at press conferences, he looks at journalists and tries to make it and gives them other names because they look like other people.
Love it. Yeah, so I think probably you reckon Scotland Czech Republic is going to be a hard-fought match. I reckon you're right.
I think it's going to be. I'm going to be watching that one for sure. To be honest.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be so interesting because you're going to have some fantastic midfield players from Scotland like McTominay and Robertson going up against some really hard and solid Czech Republic players. And I think Czech Republic are going to really bring it as well.
I think, as I was saying the other week, I think the real challenge for Scotland is how they fit the good players into the system. Oh, Pete the Freeze redeemed a hydrate. I did just have a drink on my own, but I don't want to deprive him of the excitement.
That was probably for me.
It's all right. So I think like Scott McTominay, who's a great midfielder for Man United, has been played in Scotland have been playing a back five, and McTominay has been one of the kind of the three centre backs, which I don't know. To me, Scotland again, their point of strength is almost undoubtedly their midfield, but I don't know. It seems like an odd one to me that you would drop one of your best midfielders back into the back three when that's going on.
I don't know. They might change it up for Czech. I mean, Scotland might decide to play a little bit more positive and go all out attack.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. Of the group, you've got two teams in there that made it to the semi-finals of the World Cup.
Yeah.
One of which made it to the final. So this Scotland might see it as the Czech Republic being the team that they have to beat to have that chance.
I think you're right. And I think realistically, probably what we're looking at is the game on Sunday between England and Croatia being between the two. Obviously, you never know, but I would say the chances are high that they will be the top two in the group. Mm-hmm. And Scotland and Czech Republic are probably going to be. So it's kind of, if we look at it from that point of view, it's England playing Croatia to decide who wins the group, who comes second, Scotland versus Czech Republic to decide who comes third, who comes fourth. And you can, a lot of teams qualify by finishing third in the group. You can go through to the knockout stages by finishing third. So I think you're absolutely right. I think Scotland will look on that as probably the most important game of their group stage. Because if they beat Czech Republic, lose to England and Croatia. Obviously, Scotland don't want to lose to England, but let's just say it happens. But the Czech Republic lose all of their games, then Scotland go through.
Yeah. So
probably.
Yeah, this is the one that they want to get. But like I said, it's going to be a really tough group. I think we've said this for the past 2 weeks now. Scotland are going to go all out at Czech Republic. I think Scotland will not want to miss, a televised fixture against England. How will Scotland do against Croatia?
Yeah. So you heard it here first. My prediction for Scotland is a draw against the Czech Republic and a draw against Croatia, because I think Scotland will go into it quite defensive, and I think we'll be able to get a draw. I think we'll lose to England because the occasion. Scotland don't want to go play England at Wembley and park the bus. Scotland want to go and play and try and match up against England, and I think if it were any other team, Scotland would probably try and sit deep and counter, but I'm not sure that they will against England.
Yeah,
Peter Priest is going for 7-0. Well. I'm assuming that's 7-0 to England over Scotland, or what are we going for there?
I don't know. I think it will be
7-0 to England over Scotland.
I think Scotland might snatch a win over the Czech Republic. I think they'll draw to Croatia, and I think they'll draw to England. Right. But they'll be kicking themselves. And I've got a feeling Croatia, despite the fact how well they did in the World Cup, I think their team's starting to age a little bit, and I don't know if they're going to have the pace against these much younger teams. We'll see. My prediction then is I'm going to go for England to top the group, Croatia second, Scotland third, Czech Republic fourth. But it's funny to think, actually, looking at the groups. That is a tough group that England have. Bellerin and Redeem stretch. Oh, stretch. There we go. Wonderful. I think it's undoubtedly it's a tough group. England, Scotland, Croatia, Czech Republic. But let's be honest, there is only one group of death, and that is Group F, which is Hungary, Portugal, France, and Germany. Yeah. I mean, that's brutal. Yeah, that's going to be... First of all, I feel sorry for Hungary.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, Hungary. I mean, you've given us some fantastic players over the years, but...
Yeah.
God, I wouldn't want to be in that group. And it's Joachim Low managing again.
Yeah.
And Didier Deschamps, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it is. Joachim Löw has said, I think this is his last tournament. And then he's standing down. I believe I'm right in saying.
Never. He's immortal. The guy will never, ever get grey hairs. He's like my dad. He's had the same haircut forever.
He took over from Klinsmann, didn't he, a few years ago? Well, more than a few years ago.
Wasn't it Klinsmann took over from him, and then he took over?
Could well be, yeah.
I think it was like he needed a bit of a break, and who are you going to call? Klinsmann, obviously.
You're going to call Ghostbusters,
Yeah, I loved Jurgen Klinsmann, even though he played for Tottenham. I just loved the fact that he was in the Premier League.
I watched an interview with some of the players who were around at the same time as him, who said that he was actually really funny. He was kind of the life of the dressing room, and he had a great sense of humour, and he kind of can't laugh at himself.
He came across like that in interviews. I remember, even though he was a Tottenham player, when I was playing football and all that, I used to when I played up front, I normally played left wing,
right?
But when we scored goals, I'd do the Klinsmann celebration. When it was like diving.
Yeah. I'll be honest, that didn't happen very often for me. I normally played right back, so I didn't do many.
I didn't score goals. I didn't score goals.
You just joined in.
I just celebrated when one of my crosses got nodded in. So.
Yeah. No, I was kind of the big bruising defender rather than anything. Fancy going forward. It's hard to believe now, but I used to be quite quick, which is why I would be out at right back rather than centre back. But I very much had the mentality and physicality of a centre back who kind of got pushed to right back because he could run a bit. I wasn't a very creative player. I was always more enthusiastic than I was skillful.
I was just I was just tall, skinny, and fast.
Yeah.
And for some reason, my left foot was better than my right foot, even though I'm right-handed.
Yeah.
So it just made sense for people they just put me on there. As soon as I got the ball, I just legged it to the byline and whipped it in. Couldn't do anything else.
Well, I mean, if it works, why do you need to do anything else?
So
yeah, absolutely. All right, so we've kind of we teased it a bit earlier on, but we said we would have a think about maybe some of the teams to watch. I think we said, what did we say? We do 3 teams that we think could be there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
So do you want to start?
Shall I give all 3 of them?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So my 3 teams to watch are going to be... Oh, I've completely forgotten now.
China.
No, I know I went for France and Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
France because they're just France, and it's weird because there was a time where they just didn't do anything, and in the last 20 years they've just been massive, and they seem to be constantly producing these amazing players which play all over the world. So you can never write them off.
Yeah, France is an interesting one because obviously, kind of back before I was born, probably before either of us were born, France were a good team. They had Michel Platini, who famously was a very good player and is now a bit of a somebody or other.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the one. But then they didn't really do anything, and then they came back to they hosted France. I was going to say they hosted France '98. I mean, the clue's in the name, but they hosted the World Cup in 1998, and that they kind of came roaring back then, didn't they?
Yeah.
They had Vieira, Petit. Who else do they have? Trezeguet.
Someone redeem a trivia.
Yeah,
we'll see
if we can name all of the teams. Lilian Thuram was playing for them.
It's almost as
Marcel Desailly.
if FIFA didn't give them France '98, they probably wouldn't have bothered. It's almost like the entire country just came away because, mon Dieu, we're going to have it here. We're going sort of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll give you the trivia for free. So Patrick Vieira came to Arsenal very young. I think he was like 17 or 18. And in order to fit in with culture and all that, Wenger sent him to some schools. And my school was one of the one that had it. So I actually took Patrick Vieira around the school and showed him around.
Wow. This
was before he was literally the World Cup winning player that he was, but it's unbelievable. This is really nice French guy.
He joined from somewhere like Nice, didn't he? It wasn't a huge team that he came from.
Yeah, he was nervous with his English, but he was really charming. I showed him around the school, had a chat with him. I knew he just signed for Arsenal and all that, but I never thought in my life that he would go on to be
like one of the best players of that generation, Patrick Vieira.
Yeah, legend. Well, he probably already is in the Legends team, but if you were to pick your top team of all time, he would be in there. For me, at least, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the only argument I would have with that really is that at that point, Arsenal and Man United were there. So basically, the team that I dislike most at any given time are the team that Man United are competing with. And at that point, obviously, it was the Arsenal under Wenger. That was kind of the era of the Invincibles. I mean, they had some amazing. Thierry Henry. I nearly forgot about Thierry Henry.
Isn't he Belgium's second?
I think he is. I think he's the assistant manager under Roberto Martinez. Yeah.
Yeah. Or did he get a coaching job with another team? And
I think he went to coach another team. He's had a couple of jobs where he hasn't done great, and now I think he's back working with Martinez because he managed Monaco for a while, Thierry Henry, and didn't do a great job. I mean France for me, if you looked at the best players at the tournament, they're up there. In so many positions, I think France are a very good shout.
And going back to Belgium again, Hazard, Lukaku, and that fella in goal.
And you haven't even mentioned De Bruyne. Thibaut Courtois.
I didn't want to because obviously.
Yeah, I know. Man City.
I'd already stung you with Lukaku, so.
I know. Lukaku's had a fantastic season at Inter, having left Man United. I mean. Belgium, if I had to kind of choose a team with the second best players there. I think Belgium are absolutely up there. They've just never quite put it together in the way that you would need them to. So if you put it just on players, I would absolutely put Belgium right up there. But for some reason, it's just never quite been so easy. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of Roberto Martinez as a manager. But that's probably just me. He did a good job for a while at Wigan, and then he got them relegated, and somehow from there he got the Everton job.
Yeah,
and I don't know.
So, and then the other team I wanted to watch was just going to be England, and I think we talked enough about them. So
yeah, you might be right.
I would like to know your three.
I think it's a difficult one. I think I'm absolutely with you. I mean, I'd probably have gone for France and Belgium as well. I'll try and think of some different ones though, just for variety. I think you always have to watch Germany. I think they're not at their strongest at the moment, but Germany just have something about them which helps them get through.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, the first game of that group being France-Germany is going to be exciting to watch.
Yeah,
and at Munich as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that gets me though is, honestly, out of that group, Hungary, Portugal, France, and Germany, likelihood is 3 teams will go through. But you could actually see one of Portugal, France, and Germany not making it out of the group. It could happen, and to me, those are. They also would probably be. I mean, Portugal, I think, have some great players as well. I think they could be right up there. Spain always, they always kind of do it. I'm going to go though. My slight dark horse, which is weird considering how strong they've been historically. I think Italy. I think Italy have a chance of going a long way. I think potentially because there's a little bit less expectation from them. Mm-hmm. I think they've got. I don't want to say it because Wales are in there. I think they've got a relatively easy group. Switzerland have never done a great. They've always been a tough team to beat, but they've never done that much. So I could definitely see Italy topping that group. And Mancini's got them playing pretty well at the moment. Maybe there'll be a thing of like trying to avenge the fact they didn't make it to the last World Cup. I don't know. I've just got a feeling that Italy are going to do well. Probably tonight they'll lose 3-0 to Turkey and I'll look like an absolute idiot. But I think there's definitely something there. They've still, as I say, they've still got that real defensive strength, and I think they've got some younger players maybe who can give them a bit more attacking flair as well.
Yeah, I think Ukraine might be interesting as well, but I think they've got quite older players. I'm going to go a little bit off script, and I do apologise because I do this to you almost every week. But who do you think is a candidate for the Golden Boot?
Oh, that's a very good question. Very good question. So I think I'm right in saying that last time at the Euros, Griezmann won it for France, won the Golden Boot. It is a difficult one. It could go a number of different ways. I think Lukaku's got a chance. I would say he's up there. Mm-hmm. Shea Adams, no. Let's not go for that. I don't think Scotland are going to win the Golden Boot. I don't think Harry Kane will win it because I don't think England score enough goals. I think, like, you could see Belgium putting 4 past Russia and or Denmark and or Finland. Yeah. I can't see England putting 4 past any of the teams they're playing in the group. I mean, Griezmann's got a chance again.
I would say Mbappe, maybe.
You reckon? Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's been very consistent.
Is he fully fit at the moment? I think there was some issues with him later in the campaign, but I think he's.
This is why you do the research and I don't.
Yeah. I don't know. I might be wrong. But yeah, I think. And I mean, beyond that, I think there's going to be a spread of goals. You never know. Like Portugal, Cristiano Ronaldo hits a vein of form, and he could be up there. I don't think he will be. I think. But it's a difficult one because if he plays purely up top and he has Fernandes and those behind him, that I guess the difficulty again that I'm seeing with any of the players from that group is that they've got really hard teams, and I think probably most of the goals that someone who wins the Golden Boot is going to score are going to be in the group stage.
Yeah, it normally is, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's kind of why I think someone like a Lukaku, I think, is a good shout. He's had a great season. They've got a relatively manageable group. I mean, the other team, we haven't really talked about Group C at all, but I mean, you mentioned about Ukraine. The Netherlands as really dark horses.
Yeah.
They obviously they have the pedigree, the Netherlands, as they did lose to Scotland recently, which never bodes well. I know, no, they drew with Scotland. I do apologise. It just felt like a win to a Scotland fan.
Sometimes it feels like.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's as good as a win, just you don't get the points.
Yeah. But they have some really good players still. The Netherlands. What's the name of the guy who was at United for a couple of seasons? Memphis Depay. He's been playing well, but yeah, I don't know. My prediction is Romelu Lukaku for Golden Boot.
I think that's a good shout, actually.
Yeah.
Very good shout.
So, but yeah, who knows? Lots of possibilities. Lots of I mean, that's the whole thing, isn't it? We don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next. And we've got Turkey versus Italy to get our teeth into. It's down to 3 hours time now.
3 hours time.
I know, counting down the minutes. But yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it, and I guess I'll spring this on you. I should have brought this up with you earlier. I can't do the Sports Tavern next Friday because of other things going on. So maybe we'll have to do a different day or something we could think about.
Yeah. I'm going to be winding down my. We discussed this as well. I'm winding down my streaming schedule and my video schedule on my channel, purely because I do have a full-time job which needs a little bit more attention. So sadly, for anyone watching who does watch on a Saturday, I won't be doing my stream tomorrow. So, but I will be supporting Hamish.
Good stuff.
Just from the other side of the screen.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we've talked about this before, and you're welcome back whenever you can make it, but no pressure either way. But tomorrow I will be talking with Carlos, actually, in the Coffee Chat and Mini slot. We're going to be talking about indie RPGs. Some different kind of alternative games if you're a D&D fan, or Pathfinder, whatever it might be. So some kind of alternatives to that, and how Carlos got into that kind of thing. I like to think of him as an expert on those things. He does a weekly video on them, so it'll be a really good chat to have with him tomorrow. And then after that I get my break until next week. But yeah, we'll maybe figure out if we can do another Sports Tavern next week at some point.
Because
that'd be good fun. Awesome. Well, thank you very much as ever, Andy. It's never a hardship to talk football for an hour. I think
it's the best hour. One of the best hours of my week.
Well, I think it's one of those things. We said at the beginning, it's that thing of giving us a chance to have not try and hide our nerdiness while we talk sport, and I think that's an unusual combination of us. I love the fact that we can talk sport, we can talk about football. I would say most of the circles of friends that I have is kind of nerdy RPG gaming, which is fantastic. But it's fantastic to be able to have these, football conversations, sports conversations as well. And I really appreciate the time we get to talk about it together. So
me too.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Okay, well, we'll sign off for now. We'll figure out if we can do a Sports Tavern next week, and we'll let everybody know. Thank you, Bella. And we're good next time to get to hear from you guys, whether it's next week or the one after. We'll figure it out. But that's fantastic. So enjoy the game tonight, and and over the weekend as well. And we'll catch up on that quite soon. Yeah. And Pete Priest says keep hydrating.
Yeah. Thanks everyone who tuned in as well. So thanks for
absolutely. And we'll see you soon.
See you soon. Everyone. Bye.